Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to Popternative. This, of course, is the talk show and podcast where we have digital discussions, worlds of TV, film, everything really, depending on the guest. We talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On social media, you know me as PD Beats. My guest is an actor and a writer. Her film, Liza Anonymous, is going to be premiering at the Tribeca Film Festival. Danielle Beckmann is with us. Danielle, welcome to Popternative.
Thank you so much for having me, Pete. Thank you.
I'm excited. It's an exciting time. You Tribeca Film Festival. We were talking about this before we started. I mean, that's what, like when if people ask you, like, name me a film festival, Tribeca's gonna come up. So what is that like so far? Like, your film's gonna be at that film festival.
Yeah, it is. It is surreal. It really is, and it's true. It's like Sundance, Cannes, Tribeca. It's just thrown around. So. Yeah, and they told me there was like a little piqued interest in the film in January. And so I had to wait from January until April to find out if we actually made it in. And I was sweating bullets, but it all worked out.
Now, for people that are going to check out the film, it is a short film. It is pretty funny. And for you, it was a lot from an acting perspective because I don't want to give out a lot away, but you were playing multiple personalities and people in this film. Mm-hmm. So that... like, what was that? Was that kind of like, did it excite you to do something like that? Because that's like an acting challenge on its own, right?
Absolutely. So Leah McKendrick, the writer, she and I went to college together, actually. And she knew that I was a New York actress doing a lot of, theater. And she was like, hey, do you want to do like a movie? I'll give you a gift. And I was like, sure. So she literally gave me this script as a gift. And the one thing I said was, I want to play a bunch of different personalities. And so she pitched me this thing. It totally worked out. And yeah, it's definitely a challenge, but it was such a great opportunity to embody these different people. Yeah, I'm so glad you enjoyed it.
Now, you don't have to disclose which one it was, but you could was there one of the characters that you enjoyed over the others?
Yes,
okay.
I will say that the hero image that is on all the Tribeca footage. So, I mean, it's not a secret. She has like a pink puffy dress.
Yeah.
She was my British character.
First character we see.
Yeah, she was my favorite.
Yeah.
She was the sex kitten. Yeah.
It was interesting to see. It's interesting to see like how much is in, because this is a short film. It's about 11. I think it runs about 11 minutes, I believe. There's a lot in there for 11 minutes.
Well, it's crazy you say that too, because when you watch it, it's like, wait, how did you just jam pack all of that into this one thing? And I think something that we kept in mind the whole time, which I really appreciated, was that this is a concept short.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, see what this could be. Like, there's all these questions kind of unanswered 100%. On purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we talked about, it's almost like we had a pre-interview before the real interview.
That happens I used to host a podcast that happened every time too.
Man, that's funny then, because I was just interviewing some of those on a podcast too. Do you see it as like, because sometimes like we're doing this, like you're like talking to your guests for the first time ever, right? Like it's set up and everything. It's important to like start off like on a good note, right? Like,
yes. Because it sets the whole tone. On my podcast, we would be in a room with someone for an hour and a half.
Yeah, I know. It really sets. So are we at the point now where we kind of agree that short films and web series and like that stuff, because of the access, I think is on the rise a little bit, like getting a lot of its love on its own now, Danielle?
100%, absolutely. And I think that too, it's almost, I don't know, I think of a traditional actor from, say, even 10 years ago when I was sort of entering the business. It's like, okay, you were a writer, you were an actor, and actors went to auditions and had headshots, and writers did, XYZ, had meetings, pitches, whatever. I mean, there are no boundaries now. So the idea of creating your own web series, creating your own short film and everything. Yeah, I mean, because I not only was the lead, but I'm the executive producer of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you dream it, and then if someone's like, you know what, I believe in you enough to fund it, you can make it happen.
Did you kind of know that you were going to kind of wear many hats like in the entertainment industry, like at a young age? Because I feel like it's kind of like 50-50. Like sometimes you know and sometimes you don't. It just happens.
That's an amazing question. I always, starting in high school, I was like in the show. I'd be the lead in a musical, and then I was always doing kind of, we would call it like spot work, like spot cleaning in certain scenes. Like, hey Danielle, can you help this person in the anything goes number make sure that their time step is right? And I'm like, oh, I'm on it. And so I was always assisting directors, and then I started producing, and I actually so Leah McKendrick and we went to Chapman University, and at Chapman, where we met, and that's how we got to the movie today. At Chapman, I created a theater company called From the Ground Up, and it's still running.
Amazing.
So I was always producing.
But it's one of those things too, though, where like I like to try to wear as many hats as I can with like media and like the behind the scenes. Yeah, but
yes,
some of it's not like fun to learn, but like you have to do it kind of.
There is such a learning curve on certain things.
Yes.
And for me, I've produced a bunch of theater, right? So because I've lived in New York for about 12 years. I just moved to LA recently. And so for me, on the films and on camera things, I've really been on the back end as well the last couple years. Oh my gosh, post-production was like steep learning curve. Like, what kind of file do you need? What's going on? And now I have copious notes where I faked it and I made it. And now I won't have to fake it anymore.
It's crazy too, because there's so many ways we're kind of consuming content right now. And it still blows my mind when you watch like credits, like how many people are like involved with like a movie, even if it's like a small movie. Like I have some friends that are producing things that are like 8-minute shorts, Danielle, and like a lot of people worked on it.
So that's a big thing, with COVID and everything. And Tribeca, they're asking us like, who's going to be at the premiere, all this stuff. And we had 70 people work on our 12-minute movie.
Holy smokes.
And I mean, for those of you who are going to watch the movie, there's a lot of background actors.
And there's a lot of people
real different actors. Yeah. And so also we shot the whole thing in 2 days, by the way.
Crazy.
So yeah, we got a lot in, but I hear you. It's such a village, and it's such a collaborative art form to make a film. Like you watch any Marvel movie and you're just sitting there during the credits for like another hour, probably.
Well, I interviewed Kai Cadlick. He's in Willy's Wonderland. It's a horror film with Nicolas Cage. And he said they literally had someone on set that his job was to like come and like sanitize during takes with like a big like spray.
There's a name for that. It's called like the COVID proctor or something. And actually I have a friend who actually was a producer on that film, now that you say that.
The horror genre is just amazing. Now listen, this is not, Liza Anonymous is not horror, but you would be pretty good at a horror film. Like, have you thought about that?
That's actually a great question. Do you know what it's one of my first short films I was ever in
was horror?
It was called Zombie Amore, and it was about zombies in love. And there was blood, and
I could have never guessed what it was about.
Right? I'm sorry. I buried the lead there. But no, and actually when we were shopping around to directors for this film, one of them she has a couple films in the South by Southwest circle, and she likes to do thrillers and horror, and she was a contender for a director for us. Amazing. And so the movie, it could have kind of gone in a little bit of a different direction.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
The obvious answer to this question is you hope they enjoy it. You hope they recommend it to their family and friends. But I want to dive deeper into this. When people watch Liza Anonymous, what are you hoping they get out of it?
So, well, I I don't want to correct you. It's just so you know, though, it is Liza Anonymous.
Liza Anonymous.
But the reason I say that is because it's meant to sound like Liza Anonymous, because she is not telling the truth. So many double
Did I call
entendres.
Liz Anonymous the whole time? I apologize. Sorry about that.
Oh gosh, you're totally fine. But I just wanted to pack the punch with that pronunciation. And so when people watch it, you know, there's a line where my character says, you know, I've never had friends like you. I've never had friends that'll take my call at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And that's not really giving anything away, but I just think I think the film is particularly resonant right now, from the last year of COVID, and the idea of forced isolation and forced separation, and wanting a place to belong, wanting a community. And I don't want to give away the end, but you know, she gets led to a place of love and of acceptance. And we wanted to show what was possible with that. And there's so many other things that could happen along the way, which is why it's a concept short. But yeah, we definitely think it'll resonate with people. And in the New York block of films, ours is the only comedy. So all the others are thrillers or dramas at Tribeca.
And Liza Anonymous will be available to watch and premiering at the Tribeca Film Festival. I think I want to, before we wrap up, to pick your brain on this. I find it interesting too, because I've always experimented with wanting to write my own stuff and everything. And the first thing that kind of came to mind was like writing about like my life and like what I know and everything. Is that, do you think, the good starting point? Because like there's the familiarity right away, right? Like about writing about like your life and like writing about what you grew up with and everything. Is that like an easy starting point, would you say?
Well, I mean, I do write. I didn't write this film, but I honestly, in the piece I'm working on now, I would say 100%, because the character of the piece I'm working on now, her name is Danielle. So it might be a little too close to home, but I think that honestly, if you have a blank page and you're going, what do I write? Just write literally the first thought that comes into your head. It could be a line of dialogue your character says. Like, well, I've sat and just said, I'm so frustrated right now. I don't know what to write. Okay, I'm just going to write that down. I'm so frustrated right now. All of a sudden, I have a character that's frustrated. And why? Like, what does that look like? And what are the other 1,000 questions that we could delve into why they're acting like that toward their scene partner? And so, yeah, what are you writing right now?
I don't know. There's just like a few little things here and there. I've been interested in like the docu-series concept.
Ooh.
Because I feel like it's also a good starting point. I don't know. I have a lot of friends. A lot of my friends always like, because I've always been into like writing horror stuff, and like I work in hockey, so you know I want to maybe write something about like working in sports and stuff like that. So it's just like always ideas. But I'm so focused on like Popternative right now that everything else kind of goes on the wayside.
I get it. Well, you sometimes putting all your eggs in one basket though can pay off. So
we will see. But Danielle, I wanted to thank you so much for coming on Popternative.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me, Peter. This has been great.
So Liza Anonymous is going to be premiering at the Tribeca Film Festival.
To a sold out audience, actually. It's going to be
so
June 12th, 4:30 at the Battery downtown.
And where can people follow you on social media to keep up to date with everything?
Yes, my Instagram is at Deebeck, Deebeck, and you can also find Liza Anonymous Film on Instagram and LizaAnonymousFilm.com on the internet.
Amazing. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative. For previous episodes, until next time, this is Danielle Beckmann and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.